Welcome back to Bourbon and Bond with the Boys. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
We knew going into this that we were going to enjoy it. We have For Your Eyes Only.
We're doing a thing. Is this what I think it is?
It is, and it's straight from the homeland.
Oh, that smells very much like what I think it is.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, For Your Eyes Only. Yasu.
Oppa!
Oh. Now that we've got my bit out of the way.
Here at Bourbon and Bond with the Boys, Bond is only half the story.
That's exactly right. You have to have the bourbon to go with it.
We have a bourbon to go with it.
We're so excited.
Let me tell you the story as we were hunting for a bourbon. And shout out to Sealbox, which is turning out to be an excellent distributor. We found a bourbon called Fiddler, formerly known as Fiddler Unison, now Fiddler Wheated Bourbon. If you don't know, while Fiddler fits so perfectly with Your Eyes Only, let me tell you that this movie features the great, infamous actor Topol, who played for years and years on stage and in the movie Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof.
He's so good.
I rest my
He's
case.
so good. And the fact, we had a different bourbon picked out for this movie already. We were set to go. And a couple weeks ago, you came to me and said,
We got it.
we got something new. So this came in. We're very excited that it got here in time. And I think it's finally time.
Not only have we never tasted it, never heard of it before.
No,
So
this was
is brand
completely new. It just happened upon us. And we've been waiting for weeks now to try this thing. So let's open up
While
the
you
Fiddler
break the seal.
Unison Bourbon Whiskey.
Yes, I will tell the folks that this is from ASW Distillery, which is an Atlanta-based distillery. The story on their website is about three friends with a family history of alcohol consumption in varying degrees who became friends at the University of Georgia and yeah. And they decided to make their own bourbon. So this is merged from their own high malt bourbon and a sourced high wheat bourbon. 51% corn, 45% wheat, 4% malted barley in the sourced liquid, and 56% corn and 44% various malts in their own high barley liquid. And average of 6 years old, and they claim this has gone up from 90 to 92 proof since the name change and the update.
Okay.
So I give you Fiddler Wheated Bourbon. L'chaim.
Oh my goodness. Cheers. Holy
That's smooth like a baby's bottom.
holy
That is smooth like a baby's bottom.
That's so good.
Just
Oh my
slides right on back. That is Southern hospitality in a glass, my friends.
This is hold on. Got that woodiness.
Right up front.
Yep, right up front. Little
And just sort of...
and it's sweet the whole way through. The entire journey has a very, very slight hint of sweetness that is just pleasant on the mouth. It's not burning in the mouth.
Just
Not burning on the way down. It
Washes
is
out
pleasant.
to sea like a wave.
This is excellent.
That's good stuff,
This
isn't
is excellent.
It's good stuff. This was in the 60 to 70 range. This is definitely an affordable, drinkable
If
bourbon.
this is in the 60 to 70 range, then this is absolutely worth
This
it.
is a
This is very, very good. You know, some of the new bourbons that we've tried that we've really, really enjoyed. The
Yes.
completely new to us bourbons. We have
The Painted Stave.
Painted Stave,
was glorious.
which we loved.
Yes.
And the Never Say Die was
good.
very
It
good.
was a worthy bourbon.
Those were both completely new to us, and we both give our seal of approval. This one is right
Yeah,
up with those.
it's
and
right there.
I think I prefer this one over the Never Say Die, if I'm being completely honest.
Put that just a skosh behind the Painted Stave.
This might
It's right there.
This might take it for me. This is good.
The good news about this is
We're gonna be able to revisit.
there's
So
going to be
that's a
some
great
sampling
thing.
going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, we are gonna have to revisit.
Oh,
but
yes, we are.
but sitting here right now,
That is a very good bourbon. All right, we are going to take a break for station identification, brought to you by our very favorite sponsor, Ice.
okay, so now that Dave is properly iced up, I'm skipping ice on this one, I think. For right now, at least.
Enjoy it. How
yeah.
you like it.
Yeah, this for sure doesn't need it. Others that we've had need ice. This doesn't. This is easy to enjoy.
Well, and we're about to find out if it needs. I mean, we did have one bourbon, Never Say Die, that needed to not have ice in it. So we'll find out if this needs to not have ice.
Okay, fair enough. All right, for your eyes only. Let's get into it.
For your eyes only. Right, this is 1981. Roger Moore, Desmond Llewellyn, Lois Maxwell, no Felix Leiter. Have to bring up a very sad point. There is no M in this movie because 1981 is the year that Bernard Lee passed away. He was sick while they were filming. He does not appear. They did not recast the role for this movie. They left the absence in order to honor a great actor.
And he had tried very hard. He had stomach cancer is what was going on with him, and he had tried very hard to get through filming, and he wanted to be part of the movie very badly, but it did not work out for him, and he couldn't hack it. So
we're going to lift a glass.
Absolutely.
In honor, God rest your soul, Bernard Lee. Okay, let us
dive on.
Let's dive on in.
Okay.
Let's start with the plot.
Yes. Plot out of 10 points. This one's decent. You and I were flirting with a couple of different numbers here, and we're both very close. But essentially what's happening is we're stealing British technology and pitting the Russians against the British, and there's going to be this all-out fight between the two, and the Russians will now have this technology. So there's a lot of moving pieces that go into the plot here.
And he is a thief. He is trying to sell off the technology.
Yeah, he's a smuggler. He's a smuggler. So our villain, Christatos, Aris Christatos, he is stealing British technology from a surveillance ship.
The ATAC.
And I can't remember what exactly ATAC stands for.
It stands for Cool Things That Let Us Tell Our Submarines to Launch Missiles.
Cool. So yeah, they're stealing the ATAC and going to sell it to the KGB. And that's where Bond comes in to try to thwart this plan.
And I think this movie suffers a little bit because we've had a couple of good bad guys who are megalomaniacs, Stromberg and Drax, who didn't want money. There was no amount of money. They were just wiping out people.
And there was talk of that in this movie, that he couldn't be bought, but it was for a completely different reason. He doesn't really want more money. He's made a deal, and he's sticking to the deal. There are different kind of plot lines around that are happening, and I think that it's a great twist. I love the twist. Those other plot lines kind of detract from the main focus of the movie.
They do a little bit.
Yeah.
I know we talked about a couple numbers. I think at one point we settled on or talked about settling on a 5, but I think it's the twist for me where there's another character who is also a scoundrel in this movie named Columbo. Mm-hmm. And Christatos says Columbo is the bad guy. And Columbo says Christatos is the bad guy. And Bond, for some period of time, is stuck in the middle, not knowing who to believe.
Right.
And so I think that interesting twist maybe could bump it to a 6.
I agree. I was actually flirting with a 7. I think 7 is too generous.
Proximity to Drax.
Yeah. I think 7 is too generous. So for plot, let's settle on a 6 out of 10.
I think that's a good number.
I'm happy.
I think
with
it's
that.
fair.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Bond. I think I surprised you with my Bond ratings.
You did, and again, it's the same kind of a thing where the plot of the movie is a little bit less cool standing next to Drax's plot. Mm-hmm. This Bond is much better standing next to the previous movies. Bond.
Yes, there is a departure, not entirely, but there is a deviation, if you will, from the Bond is a clown and let's not take him seriously. So there are some little one-liners, and when they're in the car chase and the little Citroen 2CV, he does that little hello nod out the window.
There's just less of
it.
But
there's less of it throughout this film. And I appreciate that so much because we've been going down this road of me being able to convince Dave that Roger Moore is a complete clown.
I was wrong. Nick was
plays
right.
Bond that way. This movie is not that, and it's refreshing. And I had to make this category reflect how thankful I am that John Glenn took over directing this and made some of the decisions that he did. So for Bond, let's move into his acting. Not a clown.
He's much less of a clown.
And he's playing this his age. He's not trying to make up for anything in this movie. He's playing an older Bond, and that's just who he is. He's not pretending to be anything. He's not making up for his lack of physical ability with humor.
I agree that he's not trying to play a younger man than he is. I don't agree that he's playing his age because he should be retired.
Well, okay.
Here's the problem. We really don't know. His clownishness and the amount of clown things that he's done in the previous several films, it's hard for us to tell how much is Roger Moore because that's what he wanted to do, and how much is the writers and filmmakers, trying to do this thing, maybe a 70s sensibility, maybe trying to make it funny, but ending up making it comical.
Yes.
And he certainly participated and contributed.
Oh, absolutely. And some of his later interviews about some of the choices that were made in this film that I think make it fantastic.
Yeah.
Tell me that he is the person behind a lot of that. He didn't like the Locke scene. When he kills Locke, he tosses the pin into the car and pushes it off the cliff. That is such a Bond thing to do.
It's 100% Bond.
And what Roger Moore said is, it may be a Bond thing to do, but it's not a Roger Moore Bond thing to do. That's it right there.
Yeah, that tells you a lot.
He's contributing a ton
Yes.
to those stupid decisions that that make us really, really frustrated.
But it's not only him, because in this movie, the filmmakers found another way to be clowns, even though he's not participating as much in that. And so we see that the blame is shared. To some degree, it's shared.
Okay.
And we'll get into some of those other things.
Okay.
But I agree. And, we've been pretty consistent with his acting, hovering around a 4, and I'm content to leave it at a 4.
I like it. Okay. 4 out of 5 for acting. Masculinity, playing to his age this time. I don't see anything that detracts from his masculinity in this. I was searching desperately for it when I was doing the rewatch. I mean, maybe the smirk when they're driving the Citroen, but that's it. I mean, he's a badass dude in this movie.
He's a better badass dude in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if we go all the way to 5. It's not less than a 4 for sure.
No.
I just really struggle with it. And I know hotness is where the brunt of him being 54 is going to hit. I still think there's some things to be desired.
I do think that masculinity is helped by him not making the solitaire blunder again. When BB wants to get him into bed, BB is the tweener, teenage, whatever she is. So when BB goes into his hotel room and is showering, comes out of the shower, gets into bed, he says no because we're presuming that she is far too young. I made this comment in Live and Let Die, that I just did not like the fact that Roger Moore went to bed with Solitaire, who was 19 or 20 at the time. And in this movie, they decided to hit on that point exactly, is that, okay, Bond knows that this girl is too young and doesn't make that slip up. But now tell me about Carol Bouquet.
Carol Bouquet
Yeah.
and Lynn Holly Johnson, they're a year apart.
Right.
Carol Bouquet was born in 57. Lynn Holly Johnson was born in 58. They're 1 year apart.
We as audience members are not led to believe that, though.
We're not. She's playing a younger character.
Right.
And he does deliver his single best quote of the entire movie. Why don't you get your clothes on and I'll buy you an ice cream? Which is freaking great.
So I did like that they made a point of that he realizes he's too old for this and, please go chase someone else. So that, I think, boosts his masculinity. There's also the keel hauling scene when
It's classic.
When Bond rotates Melina above him when they're getting hauled through the water so that he's taking the brunt of the impact on the coral reefs that they're dragging him across.
Yeah.
It's the sidewalk thing, right? The man, when you're walking down the street with your lady, the man stands on the street side of the sidewalk so that if danger is here, you can get her out of the way. It's the sidewalk thing.
Which distracts us from the fact that he's 30 years older than her.
Well, right.
30.
Okay.
Here's
the problem.
I don't hate giving him a
As
5.
we sit here today, I am not 57, and neither is Dave. I had to do the little throwback. Couldn't pass it up. Okay, so yes, he is 30 years older than her. The audience is not led to believe that. So we get a more masculine, more I don't know.
You get a less creepy dude.
You get a less creepy dude
Right?
because
So no subtractions.
They painted him as a less creepy dude. I still don't like the guy, but I don't think there's anything in this to take away from his masculinity. I think there are only things spread throughout that boost it. So I advocate for 5.
Listen, I like the movie, so I don't want to fight against points.
Okay.
Naturally.
Okay. Let's go with 5 for masculinity. He's still going to get hammered in hotness because I don't like looking at his stupid face.
Well, I can't disagree with that. I think 54 makes him the oldest Bond ever.
Yeah.
So, and he's not done. Oh my God.
We still have 2 more.
He's going to do 2
It's
more.
outrageous. It's outrageous.
It's bad.
So, hotness, just because I really don't like looking at his dumb face. Okay, maybe he appeals to a different demographic. Not to me, though. So, hotness, most I can do is 3.
I think 3 is kind.
Is 3 accurate?
Once again, I don't think any of the things you mentioned boost his score. What they do is not deduct from his score.
Okay.
Right? And so all the creepy things that he's done in the past deducted from his score. This doesn't have those, and so I am content not to go higher than a 3.
Okay. So let's sit at a 3 out of 5 for hotness. So that brings Bond up to a 12.
Which is a tie for his highest score yet.
That's so fair from me.
That's the highest he scored since he was in his 40s.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm going to I need a little bit.
Gonna imbibe just slightly more?
A little bit.
I think you should.
Take us
So-
into the next one.
Let's jump into the villain. Now, Kristatos is not a horrible bad guy. He's a little bit like Vanilla. The question is he Vanilla Bean? Kristatos isn't horrible. He's not one of those guys like Largo who gets his hands dirty, who gets involved in the action, who gets in a fight with Bond, who puts on the wetsuit. He's barking orders. He's sending guys to do things. He's not terrible. He's kind of a middle-of-the-road bad guy. I think the middle-of-the-road score is a 5 for a middle-of-the-road bad guy. And I do think he suffers from having a better character juxtaposed to him. I think Columbo is so much easier to like and fall in love with.
Yes.
He's just better. He's, it's Tevye. So, however, you may recognize the actor. He's not a slouch.
No.
And in nerddom, he does play an integral part in one of the great movies,
Indiana Jones.
and The Last Crusade.
Right. I love Julian Glover. I think he is absolutely fantastic. He's had a remarkable career. He's a wonderful actor. He was a wonderful stage actor. And seeing him in this against Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, no candle, right? He's a meh, like you said. He's just a middle of the road. And then you watch him in Game of Thrones. The guy was capable of doing so much more. He's such a talented actor. And I think this character is just, maybe the character is just trying to do a little bit too much. He's trying to hide that he is truly the villain. That may be what they're
they are
guilty
doing
of.
a subtle twist.
Right.
I went back and I looked at some of our previous villains, and I thought to myself, I feel like Kristatos belongs in the group of Donald Pleasance as Blofeld and Charles Gray as the Blofeld who appears in drag. Mm-hmm. And Goldfinger, and the combo of guys in Octopussy. It would be wrong to rate him below that group of people, and they all got a 6. For all those reasons, and for the fact that it's a guy we recognize from other things, should get him a 6.
Okay. I had him at a 5. I'm absolutely fine with a 6 just because I really enjoy Julian Glover. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, the actor gets a bonus point.
He'd get a bonus point just for that.
Yeah.
Okay, done. There aren't a whole lot of fights to be had right now.
We're going to make a couple up, but this is what it is. We like this movie.
All right, Henchman.
Unusual situation here.
We have Jaws 2.0.
We have the Jaws we wish Jaws had always been.
Yeah.
But there's an unusual situation. Now, there was a time in our past when we had a henchman that was 2 people that worked as a team, and they were one henchman. We rated them as one henchman.
Yes, Mr. Kidd and Mr. Wint.
There are 2 henchmen in this, but they're not a team. They're separate henchmen who seem to equally be henchmen, and we decided to give them points for having 2 cool henchmen. Here's what I remember us rating, and here's what I'm feeling in my soul.
Okay, talk to me, Goose.
Locke is creepy scary, and Kriegler is the Jaws should have been. And you have a very young Charles Dance as Klaus.
Yeah.
All of that demands a 5.
Okay, I'm fine with it. Kriegler by himself gets almost a 5.
He throws his
He's
motorcycle
such a
at Bond.
Badass dude.
He picks it up and throws it at him.
The guy is just
beast.
a mountain.
He's a beast.
You can't beat him up. You can't defeat him. The only thing you can do is push him off of a cliff. That's the only way to defeat him.
Right, and it works.
And you know what happened in this one? Once you push him off a mountain, he dies. That's what happens.
That's what happens.
That's what happens when you fall off mountains.
Gravity is undefeated.
Sorry.
And she is a harsh mistress. I think this strange combination of two guys that are opposite sides of a henchman is great. And then seeing Charles Dance show up, right, in this little role. I mean, he's obviously we're going to see this happen again with an actor that becomes big.
Oh, yeah.
But early in his career has a little Bond part. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the category earns a 5.
I love it. Yep. That's what I had too. Bond girls were going to have a slight issue.
It's just complicated.
Very slight.
Before we go there, I would like to discuss the Fiddler Wheated Bourbon and why there isn't any in my glass. Now, I would also like to warn our viewers, we try to be not controlled. We don't want to be controlled. If we get a little, involved by the end of the episode, we consider that a bonus for you. This is a personal service.
That's exactly right.
However, we don't want to get sloppy. We don't want to get sloppy, and we don't want to have a repeat of what happened in Her Majesty's Secret Service when we were so pissed we kept drinking without counting.
Oh boy, yeah.
But this is good. I'm gonna have another one. All right, let's get into this complicated Bond girl situation. Let me first say, Melina, played by Carol Bouquet, is so pretty that you feel like you shouldn't stare at her because you could go blind, but you can't look away because she's so pretty.
Interesting.
She's very, very pretty. Here's what she's not. Unbelievably hot. So it's yet another one of those situations where they have this extremely beautiful actress who is just, she's gorgeous. They did on the documentary, they had some close-ups of her just trying to get, her face on the camera. And I'm looking at him going, I should stop looking. I should stop looking. I should stop. She's just gorgeous. But it's partly her and the way she acts, partly the way the character is written. She's not Bond girl sexy. And part of that's her character, the way that her character is written and the backstory of her character, what her character's going through. And it does make sense.
Right.
She's just not, oh my gosh, hot.
Right. I completely agree. I think my score may reflect that a bit more than yours.
Uh-oh.
Acting's going to be a tough one, though. Let's start at acting for Melina. Carol Bouquet.
Yep.
I don't know what to do with this one.
It's a little Jane Seymour going on, a little bit beginning of your career, not all the way there yet.
Right,
thing going on.
But I don't know what to do with this one.
Okay, just the speculation. Throw it out there.
Yep, there's speculation out there, and it's all over the place, that Melina is dubbed. It's widely known that she dubbed her own performance
back into French
for the French version of this movie.
Yes.
There is speculation that the English version was also dubbed
or partially dubbed.
No one can quite track down exactly what happened here. There's rumor that she dubbed over her own voice in the English version too. There are rumors that Nikki Van Der Zeel was dubbing her.
And she insists it was not her, by the way.
And the credits in the movie do not credit her. Every other part that she's done, she's at least been in the credits.
And she's got a list.
Here.
She says, this is what I did, and this character's not on that list.
So I don't know. This is a bit of a mystery, what happened with this one. And because I don't have an explanation for why her acting seems off, I don't know how to score it.
Yeah.
It's an odd situation. So right now I'm at a 2, not really knowing if that's correct.
If we ignore the language barrier, if we just throw all of that discussion out and we just say, how was she? It's a little bit rough.
Yep.
Right? And I don't know that we would give her, we're not going to give her a 5. I can't see giving her a 4. I think a 3 would be overly generous just given what's on tape. She is entirely existing on how pretty she is.
I think you're right.
And so a 2 feels like the right number.
Okay. All right. We can't dock her just for being dubbed, right? In the past, you have said, because this character is dubbed, I took away a point.
Yeah.
We can't do that here. Nope. I think just on the merit of acting in general.
It's just not great. It's not great.
No. Okay. 2 out of 5 for acting. Hotness. I have her at a 3. And I think she's not hot.
She's not. And I think that's why I would drop her from a 5 to a 4. She's just too gorgeous for a 3.
Okay.
But she can't be a 5. She doesn't do it.
No.
She doesn't do 5 stuff.
No, she doesn't. And I think a 4 is a little bit more generous than I was prepared to be, but the next one will...
But so is this.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Okay, so a 4 for hotness for Melina.
And one of those rare times in a Bond movie where they put in the extra effort to create a character with quality, with depth, with dimension.
Yeah.
Right? Her witnessing her parents being these, marine biologist kind of people asked by the British government to go investigate this thing, murdered in front of her eyes, and she is going on a friggin' revenge tour.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. There's a little complexity to it, and she does try to bring some of that to the role. I don't think she can completely achieve it, which is reflected in the 2.
Yeah, but
it's a complicated character.
It can't come out of character.
No,
it cannot come out of character.
It's a complicated character.
Yeah, she's a 5 for character.
I think
all
so
day long,
too. It's
all
a good character, and it's the kind of character that Bond needs to save. The fact that they end up on the same mission, is just too much for him. Right?
Yeah.
So really good character, I think.
Okay, perfect.
245.
245. BB.
Oh, you're skipping right to Beebs. Can I suggest a possibility?
Yeah.
If you were to give me 30 minutes in an editing booth, I could make this a much better film.
Just by taking BB out.
Think about this. Somebody answer this question for me. If you delete her from the film, what does that change really?
I don't give Bond 5 for masculinity.
For not sleeping with her?
That's the only thing.
No,
That's the only thing it would do.
I think she just doesn't accomplish anything.
No.
I am going to dock production quality on this film for them allowing her to speak out loud on camera. She's an awful character. It's a bad performance. She's the kind of pretty that's like, did you ever order that dessert at a fancy restaurant, Death by Chocolate, something like that, and you get it and you have that first bite and you go, oh my God, that is the best thing I've ever had in my mouth. Mm-hmm. Then you take the second bite and you go, man, that's good. And then you take the third bite and you go, that's pretty rich, isn't it? And you take the fourth bite and you go, oh my God, I'm going to die if I eat one more bite of this. You can't even look at it.
Yeah, by the end of it, your teeth are falling out.
Ashamed of yourself for even having eaten the 4 bites you had, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the kind of pretty she is. She's that cotton candy pretty. She's dessert and not main course pretty. If you took her out of the film, you'd have to rewrite almost nothing, and you just make the movie 10 minutes shorter, and it would be better.
The problem is they decided to make her a Bond girl. This is not someone that is peripheral babeness. This is a character that they showed some development and decided to make her a significant character.
It's terrific.
We couldn't write it off and say, oh no, she doesn't count. She counts.
It's 1 point lower just because she's in it.
Yep. Okay. Acting, I've got it a 1.
I think a 1 is generous.
It is generous because the only thing she does well is skate.
She's a beautiful skater.
She's a skater.
It's a beautiful skater.
Yeah, she's a marvelous skater, but she doesn't act. She skates. So go skate and stop acting. But she didn't do that. She decided to try acting, and she gets a 1. On the hotness scale, I've got her at a 2.
I gave her a 3 because I could fall deeply in love with her for about 12 minutes.
Yo.
I know.
I can't do 3. I can't do a 3. The poor thing needs some Whataburger in her life.
Whataburger would be good.
But
that's not going to solve the problem.
Something.
It's really not going to solve the problem.
Get her some Whataburger.
I can't go 2. That's low. Why is she in this movie low? Well, of course, we were asking that question.
I mean, she's a ruler.
She's pretty.
She's a ruler.
Small.
She's a figure skater for a reason. I apologize to all of our figure skater fans. All of our viewers who are figure skaters.
I really am having I have to say this right now. I'm really having a hard time picturing someone out there who is a dedicated intelligent, intellectual follower of Bourbon and Bond with the Boys, and loves figure skating.
I am open to a 3. I don't think she deserves a 3 for hotness. I really don't.
Here's the problem. If we drop her to a 2, this movie's going to get unduly punished for a couple of bad decisions in casting and directing. I mean, as it is, making her a 3 here punishes the Bond girl category. Entire point. We did the math. I did the math and conglomerated this up with her at 1 and 3 and 1. And it costs Bond girl rating a full point.
Yeah, it sure does. Okay.
Making her a 2
All right.
just is brutal to the other 2 fine actresses who were good Bond girls.
Fine. 3. Character.
I don't even know why she's in this friggin' movie. If we could give her a 0, I would.
There you
But
go.
I think 1's as low as we can go. Why is she in the movie? What does she do in the movie?
I'll tell you what. When she and Brank are trying to escape, and she gets tossed around and she puts herself in front of a couple of punches and slaps, she is trying to be of assistance.
And failing.
Well, she's taken some backhandies, so
She doesn't actually accomplish anything.
she absorbs a couple of backhands.
But it doesn't actually help in any
It
way.
might give somebody just that split second to I don't know.
If we were in a gladiator ring
She sucks.
and she was on the ground and the other gladiator was standing over her with a sword, she would get one of these.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've got a 1-3-1 for BB. Okay. I'm fine.
Now let's go to the big surprise.
Liesel.
She's surprised.
Liesel was a surprise. She doesn't have a whole lot of dialogue.
I want to talk about her character first because this is the easiest of the 3 categories to rate. There's no character development at all.
No.
She's Columbo's girlfriend, and he's so sad when she gets killed, but he sent her to seduce Bond to get information from him. So how much in love with her was he? It's weird, and it's not fully fleshed out or explained. She's some countess, but she's at his beck and call. It's
no idea.
No character development.
No idea. Nope.
This needs to get punished hard.
It's a 1.
It's a 1.
Yeah.
That's a bad character.
Again, we've talked about this in the past that there are some characters that are there wearing red shirts. Their only purpose is
She's
to die.
there to die.
That's all she's
It's
there for.
the truth.
That's all she's there for is to lure in Locke, the creepy henchman, and get Bond close to him.
Yeah.
That's the only reason for Liesel. That and to give us this next category.
I want to go back to the beginning first. Because the next easiest...
God bless him.
it. The next easiest category, though, is her acting. Because she's a good actress. She's not in the movie long enough to be giving her 4s and 5s.
No.
But she's a good actress.
She is.
And it's a good performance. And I think she deserves a 3 for it.
She does deserve a 3.
See how easy those 2 were?
Those were very easy.
Now let's talk about the complicated one.
This isn't complicated.
I think it's a little bit complicated.
It's not complicated. This is a 4 for hotness. Liesel is hot. She's not pretty. She's...
Carol Bouquet, Cassandra Harris. She's the opposite.
Yeah.
You put her in a photo or a headshot and you go, she's pretty, but she's not this diehard gorgeous looking. But everything about her is hot.
She's sexy.
She's sexy. She's alluring.
Yep.
She knows how to work it on film.
Yep.
She comes off the film. She jumps off the film. You want to look at her when she's acting.
Oh, she's great.
She's
great.
amazing.
And
And
to say it, the editors missed one.
thank God.
There's some talent. Yeah.
Showing.
I mean, you can't punish it for that.
Now we're talking.
I'm not at 5 hotness though. She
We're
can't be 5 hotness.
No. But we're talking 3, 4, 1. If we were talking maybe going less than that, and we're considering maybe going less than that, I would like to present a case for not going less than that because this woman, Cassandra Harris, has a very tight, complex connection to James Bond. Cassandra Harris married Pierce Brosnan right before the filming of this movie. She was actually married to him during this movie. And by all accounts that I can find, he was in love with her. They were happy. He adopted her children.
Oh.
She died very young from ovarian cancer, which killed her mom and her daughter. It's tragically sad. And she passed 4 years before Pierce Brosnan would finally put on the tux and become James Bond. And I think for all of this beauty in her life, the tragedy in her life, there's no way we're rounding her down.
No.
So 341 is solid.
Okay.
And our hats off, and God bless your soul, Cassandra Harris.
It's twice we've had to do this in this episode.
I know, but she was great and very sad.
Mm-hmm.
But a little bit of Bond royalty.
Yeah.
All right, so let's put all this math
Please.
together.
Yeah, so Liesel is a 341.
Yes.
We put Melina at a 245.
Yes.
And BB at a 131.
Yes.
There is peripheral babeness. The editors just so happen to miss more talent when Bond is investigating the Spanish mansion.
Hector Gonzalez's lair.
Yeah.
The assassin who murders Melina's parents.
Right. So there's a peripheral hotness that comes up and starts mooching on the guard and exposes her talent. So I've got peripheral babeness in here.
Little up rounding.
And I still have an 8.
It's 242. It's a 242. And if you mathematically deduct BB, it's a full point higher. Yeah.
It's a real shame, but again, being fair to the movie, we had to include her. And
a substantial portion of that blame goes on the filmmakers.
Score
goes to the
has to
actors.
reflect it. Has to reflect it. All right, let's talk about action, shall we?
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
There's a lot of action.
It's nonstop. We've talked before about, having a bunch of lulls between the action sequences, and you forget about what happened, and this, that, and the other. That does not happen here. It goes
those
from
action
one to
scenes
another.
are tied together so well.
Yes, they're all connected very well. It flows very well, and you're not sitting there waiting for Bond's next fight.
Yeah.
It's there.
Let's talk about the opening scene where an unnamed bald villain in a wheelchair with a pussy,
Mr. Bigglesworth,
tries to kill James Bond. And this happening while there are disputes over the rights to use Blofeld. And so he's not Blofeld, but Blofeld dies because you don't want us to use Blofeld? Fine.
Albert Broccoli said, "We don't need him anyway."
Yeah.
I think it was a great decision.
It was hilarious.
Reading what went into that was very interesting. That is an iconic scene. It's
one you
so
remember from
good.
childhood.
It's so good, and I didn't remember that it came from this movie. I just remember the scene.
Here's what else I don't remember. When Bond finally takes control of the helicopter and scoops him up, and the Blofeld that's not Blofeld starts pleading for his life, he says one of the strangest and goofiest lines in the entire Bond catalog, which is goofy and strange. He says, "We can do a deal.
We can do a deal.
I'll buy you a delicatessen in stainless steel."
See, I never knew what he was saying. I only ever remembered, "We can do a deal." That's the only line that I ever truly made out as a kid was, "We can do a deal." And when we were first watching this, and I said, "We can do a deal," and he kind of looked at me strange, and then he said it.
I'll buy you a
the
delicatessen. I read a little bit about the delicatessen line. Did you read a little bit about the
I
delicatessen
sure did,
line?
yeah.
Would
It
you like
was
to
interesting.
explain it as a personal service? to the
I
people?
will. I'll do my best. So that is a reference to the old school mafia. When someone was trying to bribe or pay off the members of the mob, they would offer them a deli with stainless steel countertops, and that would be their payoff. So that they
And a
would
front would become a front.
Right. It would be a front.
Potentially.
It would be an endless supply of income. And yeah, that was a callback to that. I didn't pick up on it. I don't really understand why it was in this movie, except maybe a fascination of Albert Broccoli of the mafia.
Well,
I don't know.
I think he grew up there. I think he grew up
Okay.
in New York,
Okay.
and I think he was a little upset about this ongoing legal battle that he was having about, can we use Blofeld or not? It's bizarre,
Yeah.
and hilarious,
Yeah.
and iconic.
Absolutely.
This entire scene.
Absolutely. I love it.
Can we talk about the Hanson brothers? James Bond gets jumped by the Hanson brothers.
I don't know who the Hanson brothers are.
Oh my God! Oh my Lord in heaven! There's a great old Paul Newman movie called Slapshot.
Okay.
And he's the captain, player coach of a failing hockey team, and they're trying to pull out all the stops to save the team.
So he's Shorzy.
Worse, antics, right? And he ends up, trying to get colorful players, and they get these triplets, the Hanson brothers.
The Jims.
and all they do is beat people up and get in fights.
So it's the gyms.
It's
in Shoresy.
It's
okay. There are going to be a lot of overlays here.
so it's a little odd that he goes on the ice and then the Hanson brothers came out and try to kill him with hockey.
Yeah.
The ski snowbike chase thing was
huge.
pretty amazing.
I didn't
The stunts were
realize
cool.
The stunts were cool. One of the stuntmen died during the filming of the bobsled scene.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Were he skiing on the bobsled track?
Where he's going down the track. Yeah.
So the bobsled's on the track. He's skiing behind the bobsled,
and
one
then
of
the
bikes is
motorcycle
chasing. So
Yep.
it's pretty
so
amazing.
Filming that scene, one of the stuntmen died. The scene where he's doing the scaling of the mountain to get up to St. Cyril, the monastery, they did that climb.
That's
a
beast.
nasty climb.
And that's something I remember as a kid.
Absolutely.
Bond climbing that mountain.
Oh, yeah. And the guy who had to do the drop, right? When there's that
Don't get
Greek
mad.
SOB that's smacking on the pegs with his Luger, using it as a hammer. The rope drops and the actor or stuntman drops and comes to this sudden stop.
Yeah.
And they did that stunt. And the guy said, it was just terrifying. And as you look down, you being the stuntman, as the stuntman looked down at where he would drop, he's looking at the cemetery down below him.
Oh, no.
And the thing to save him was an open box that was down below him out of camera shot that he said just reminded him of a casket. And so he would get sick to his stomach, but they got the shot, and it is fantastic.
Wow. It's great
just
scene.
amazing.
It's an amazing scene.
Yeah.
The storming of St. Cyril's is a really good scene.
So action all over the place.
It's all over the place. And it's so many things. When you start to list them out, and on the rewatch, I wrote every one of them down, and the page was full. I mean, there's so many things.
We're 9 flirting with a 10.
It's a 9. Let's give it a 9.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
It's awful good.
Yeah. As much as we don't want it to, some of the quality kind of came into question. But still.
For now,
let's stick with
it's a
a
9.
Okay. The big 4.
Okay. We decided we're going to do it. So Bernard Lee passed. We mentioned this earlier. He passed. He was very sick during the filming, before the filming, during the filming. He passed in 1981. He will be replaced in Octopussy by an actor, and we'll talk about this in the next episode. He's admirable, and he does an admirable job in the next movie, but I think it was the right choice in honor of Bernard Lee not to recast him for this movie.
To exclude
to
him,
have him
yes.
absent.
Yeah.
And while there's no M, which normally would be a 0, Nick and I have advocated for an honorary point for Bernard Lee in honor of him and the 11, is it?
I think so.
Ridiculous number of appearances is M. Bernard Lee. We're giving him a 1.
Okay.
Q is a 5 without his turn as a priest in the confessional.
Yeah.
If it were possible to give him 6, him
That
being
would
the
get him a
priest in the
6.
confessional would give him 6.
Yeah.
And that is really, I think, one of the better lines again in the movie is, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. That's putting it mildly, 007. I mean, he's great. He's
is
Q
great.
again.
He
It's
is great.
yet another 5 for Q.
We get him in his lab again.
We love
right.
Desmond
We have
Llewellyn.
the gadgets in the lab. Finally, we've got the spring-loaded cast that is
Yeah,
smacking the dummy. We've got the claw umbrella. Right, all
making
this,
fun of him about destroying his car.
Yeah, all of this stuff. The banter between the two of them is fantastic, and they heard the people and they brought Q back.
He's
So
a 6.
we
can't give him a 6, but
we're
he's a
giving
6.
him a 5 out of 5 for Q.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Brace yourselves, because just like Bernard Lee has passed, there's gonna come a moment where we're going to have to deal with the fact that Desmond Llewellyn will not be with us anymore. It's coming, so brace yourself.
Amazingly, it's not coming anytime soon.
And
So,
amazingly, he does not die of old age. He was just something.
wow. Okay, Moneypenny. On the first watch, we were a little unfair to Moneypenny.
A little critical because she's aging. She's
She
the
is-
same age as Roger Moore.
Yeah, Moneypenny. We originally gave a 1.
But she does more than that.
Yes, I don't think she's a 1.
You were right.
She's got that drawer that she pulls out in her office that has like this pop-up mirror, and she is putting on her makeup, and there's the bottles of perfume there, and she catches the hat toss in her mirror.
We get to see it in the
think it's
background.
such a fun throwback.
Yeah.
And she is flirty.
Full bonus point.
She is all about it.
Yep. Full bonus point for
Yep.
her being her.
Yes. Because she only showed up that once, we cannot give her more than a 2.
Once again, the filmmakers failing to fully utilize Lois Maxwell.
Yeah, you
To
have
say?
her. And at this point, though, I don't know how much you can use her.
Sure.
Right?
She's in her mid-50s.
Right.
Yeah.
It's odd to see mom and dad flirting with each other. You don't want to see that.
No one wants to see
right?
that.
So having Lois Maxwell and having some of those throwbacks and these little hints about her fondness of Bond, I think that's enough. And
It deserves a 2.
Let's give it a 2.
You were right.
Okay.
You were right.
Felix is the easiest call
Yeah.
we've had to make.
Yep.
Big fat 0.
They have philosophically left Felix out of the Bond films with Roger Moore.
Why can't Luigi be Felix?
There isn't a reason.
That's all you have to do. He meets with an operative who is Italian special whatever the hell.
Don't get me started. This is not the worst case of why didn't you just make that Felix?
It's so
We're going to get bad examples of that later.
stupid. What even
pisses me off.
is Italian intelligence? Okay, so Felix is 0. Easy peasy. That means we are at an 8?
A
out of 20?
disappointing 8.
Yeah, disappointing 8. But
Should have been a 7, but +1 for in honor of
Yes.
Bernard Lee.
Yes. Okay. So we have an 8 out of 20 for the big 4. Moving on now to credits montage.
This is tough. This is tough.
I like the song.
This is not a Bond song, but this is by far the best not a Bond song that we have in a Bond movie.
Yeah,
This is a good song.
I love this song. It doesn't make your ears bleed. It's not too slow that you get frustrated and want to punch babies.
Sheena's fully
It's-
hot.
Sheena is very talented. Yeah, that's all I got for her.
Practically, virtually, almost participates in the naked silhouette-ness of the visuals. Gotta hand it to her, right? So this is the best not a Bond song.
True. Because it's not a Bond song and it's just this rolling ballad,
Yeah.
it's a 7.
It can't be an 8,
It can't be an 8.
but it is a 7.
And it's as much as I like the song, if I loved the song, we put Live and Let Die at a 10.
Yeah, but Live and Let Die is a Bond song.
This is nowhere even close.
It's not.
To Live and Let
It's-
Die level.
it is.
Even if it was a Bond song, it's not at that level.
It's not.
No.
It's a 7.
It's a 7. Visuals are decent.
They were decent.
They're, I think, better than average.
I could go 8, except for one disappointing fact.
I'm watching a Sheena Easton music video.
It's a Sheena Easton music video.
We're
You can
sitting
find this
there
on
in
MTV.
a James Bond movie
100%.
watching MTV.
It's 100% what's happening, and it's got to lose a point for that.
Yeah,
it has to.
I'm with you. I saw some of the arguments for making it, featuring Sheena Easton and showing her face and showing this. It was the first credits montage to show the singer. Okay,
You
great.
silhouette naked Sheena Easton, and she has a gun in her hand, and I give him the point back. I
That's-
might give
yeah.
him 2 points.
You
back.
might give him 2.
I might give him
Two
more,
honking
and a
points, yeah.
standing ovation.
Yeah. So 7 again.
It's a
because
7?
it's better than
good.
average. It's better than average.
Yeah.
So 8 minus 1 for being an MTV music video
Yeah.
for Sheena Easton.
7 and
So
7 for a 14.
14 out
That's
of
a
20.
good score for
It
this
really
guy.
is. It really is.
All right, this is going to be a little complicated. The Bondness of the movie. Let's start with booze. He doesn't have the martini, and he doesn't have Dom, and he doesn't have Bollinger.
No.
He drinks a little ouzo. He has an unnamed champagne with Liesel, and he has an unnamed whiskey with Colombo.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't know. I like the fact that he's in Greece and they threw in him
Sure.
ordering ouzo. That's great.
Sure.
He also has wine. He and Christados have wine for dinner.
It's on the
casino.
table. Does he have? Because he
They do
orders
discuss.
the ouzo.
They do discuss which wine he would like for dinner, and Christados suggests one, and Bond, in his infinite Bondness, says,
Knowing more
"Oh,
than
I'd
you
rather
about."
prefer a herb de derp." But
There's
all of
no
this,
martini.
All of this is unnamed. There are no names here. It's just okay. We have ouzo, we have wine, we have brown liquor.
We don't have the central Bond thing.
I know. It's certainly not in the 4 range.
It's not.
I advocate for 3
Because there were multiple events.
because there were multiple events, but we see him drink very little. So we might be talking a 2. I don't see him drink much.
I vacillated between a 2 and a 3.
3's high. 2, I think, is maybe a little bit too critical.
If it's a movie we hate, we give it a 2. If it's a movie we don't hate, we give it a 3.
So let's keep it at a 3.
3.
Okay. Quotability is not there for me.
I'll buy you a delicatessen.
We can do a deal. I love it. That's great. No head for heights made me want to ingest rat poison.
That's one of the typical missed opportunity lines.
Yes.
From a Roger Moore James Bond.
And it came after one of the perfect moments, right? Where he kicks Locke off of the cliff. It was such a frustrating end to such a great Bond moment.
He should have embraced the tick. Gravity is a harsh mistress.
Ugh, I was so frustrated about it.
Even embrace Yellowstone. He had to catch the train. Do something.
Literally anything.
Anything would have been better.
Anything would be fine.
It's not a 4. We're clear.
No.
Once again, we're debating, is it a 2 or a 3?
I think you had it at a 3, but none of the quotes are really Bonds that stand out to us.
He has one quote that's worth quoting.
Okay.
Put on your clothes and I'll buy you an ice cream.
Okay.
That was funny.
Never grow up. The opposite sex could never handle you. That's decent. That's decent.
Okay. And then Q's got a good line. Blofeld's got a good line.
Yep.
There's really not a lot of good lines.
Is it a 2 or a 3?
Well, your logic for booze could apply here as well. If we're stuck in between a 2 and a 3, the Bernard Lee effect causes us to bump up and set it down.
The next category we're not wavering on, so let's go ahead and give this one a 3 for quotability.
Can I use... we haven't used profanity very much in this entire episode. I would like to... Because I've twice in my notes written the phrase, John Glenn can go f*** himself. Because of this thing that they did where they intentionally wanted to bring Bond back to Earth, but have him rely on his wit and not on the gadgets. I think you should have sexual intercourse with yourself.
John Glenn being at the helm of this is the reason we enjoy this movie as much as we do.
But this is a big fat stupid.
I agree.
And it needs to be punished
I agree.
to the tune of a 2.
Yes.
We're giving him 2 points for Q's magical find your face tool and ignoring everything else.
The identigraph and the watch that has the readout.
Oh my god!
It's
That's
at
so
least
weak.
At least it's not the ticker tape watch.
You put
that
an
we had in the
alarm
last one,
on his Lotus that you can only ever use one time,
which on a Lotus you should.
and then you replace it with a Lotus that does nothing.
Gadgets is a 2. Gadgets sucks.
Gadgets is a 2
It's such a
because
shame.
we like Q.
Yes.
It doesn't deserve a 2. We're just giving it a 2 because Q's awesome and Q does the face finder thing.
Mm-hmm. Locations.
Well, there's no arguing this one.
There isn't.
Spain,
They're
Italy,
all
Greece,
over the place.
the sea.
They're all over the place. Albania, Bahamas.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
This one was
world-hopping
done right.
Bond.
This one was done right. There was no question about where they are. The St. Cyril's Monastery, it's a real place.
Up on top of that mountain.
Yeah, this is a real place, and there was quite the dispute with the monks that lived there about whether the film crew was allowed to even be present and film. So the monks went up and covered the entire exterior of the monastery with sheets and tarps so that it would screw up the entire filming process. And the Greek government got involved and said, no, your building belongs to the government and to the people, and you cannot do this. They can film the exterior, they can be on your property, and they just won't go inside. So it is a real place, yes, and it's not something that they constructed. The interior shots were filmed at Pinewood Studios, obviously, but the exterior shots, that's a real place. It's very, very cool.
And this is one of those scenes that, sticks with you from your childhood, right? This is an amazing scene, and I always remembered, that scene with them climbing and all the people at the bottom watching. Yeah, it's a great scene.
And it was, in fact, a location for the Greek resistance in World War II. They made reference to that. I think Columbo made reference to that.
Yeah.
I will not get into the rest of the Greeks' involvement in World War II, though. Locations is a 5. Car.
It's a 5. The car's a 1. There's really no arguing the car. What's the purpose of the car? They brought back the Lotus that we love so much and then blew it up.
It does nothing else for us. It
Yeah.
does nothing
And
else.
then the new magical red Lotus shows up with him and... I mean, how did it get there?
At the very least, there is one gadget, and that's the burglar alarm. So it blows up. We can give it as 1.
Does anyone want that alarm for their own car? Nobody wants that.
All right, so 1 for the card. That brings us to 14 out of 25.
It's a 14.
It's not terrible. If you fix 2 things, got a good movie on your hands.
You put Felix in this. You
yeah.
give him some gadgets.
Oh, yeah.
You give him a car.
Okay.
You give him a martini. And this is well over 100.
Yeah. Okay, production quality.
All right. If you start with a 5, I'm subtracting 1 point for letting BB speak out loud on camera.
Okay.
That was shameful.
Okay.
And I'm subtracting 1 for the Columbo Cristados fight at St. Cyril's. That fight was filmed so poorly and jaggedly, and there were cuts. And I don't know if the actors were both too old to do a decent fight scene, but it was just tragically bad for such a good scene. I'm adding 1 for the ski and snow bike chase stunts.
Fantastic.
Which were brilliant.
Yep.
I'm adding 1 for the entire look and feel of the movie.
Yes.
I'm adding 1 for the underwater scenes and the sub that they invented to do this. Mm-hmm. Those were some amazing shots.
The Neptune.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was not watertight, so you had to be in a suit to be
right.
in it, but it was a working sub.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the mountain climber stuntman who did that climb, I'm adding a point for that. This is good.
It's good.
There's mistakes it gets punished for, but overall, this is extremely good.
It's very, very well done. When one of the climbing pegs is pulling out of the rock face, they did that kind of quick, to look like it's coming out of the rock.
Yeah.
They did that once, and they didn't do it again.
They didn't do it with the fights.
There are good explosions. There are good
lots of
gunfights.
Stunts. Lots of big stunts.
Lots of stunts. I mean, I don't know how to give this less than an 8.
I don't want to give this less than an 8.
Okay. Especially considering the time, we're still not...
It's 1981. It's essentially the 70s.
You have to do all of these things.
It's all
you
mechanical.
have to actually do all of these things.
There's no CG.
They did
it's
well
with
done. This one.
Yep. It's well done.
8 out of 10 for production quality.
Now, X Factor is the one non-technical category we have. Most of the categories we have are subjective in nature.
Yep.
They're us saying what we thought about this, but they're very technical in that we're judging a certain thing. The X Factor is the one place where we can come in and say we liked or didn't like it. We remember or don't remember it. We remember fondly or not fondly. And so when we talk about X Factor, we're talking about, what did we love or hate about the movie? There's one thing I hate about this movie. Absolutely despise, and it makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And I grew up in the 70s. The music in this is horrifically bad.
That funky music, yeah.
It's not just 70s music. It's the worst kind of 70s music. It's horrifically
tough.
bad.
It's tough. That is just about the only thing that takes away from this.
Let's talk about the things we do like.
Let's just get this right out of the way. I enjoy this film.
We both do.
If this one is on TV, as I'm flipping
you stop
through,
and watch.
I'm stopping and watching this one. It is fun. It's enjoyable. It's not stupid like so many other Roger Moore films
it's
are.
It's one of my favorite Roger Moore Bonds.
I really, really enjoy this movie, and I don't want to punish it.
Let's talk about my number one favorite thing about this movie that I remember as a very small child. It stars Topol.
Is fantastic.
I grew up with Fiddler on the Roof. I used Fiddler on the Roof in pre-marriage counseling for 15 years. I love that movie, and I love that movie mostly because of him. He was iconic. He played this on Broadway forever, and having him show up as a kid, having him show up in this movie was amazing for me. Even now, going back and rewatching this movie and seeing him, I absolutely love it.
I love him. He seems like this rough and capable but fun dude.
He's the uncle who shows up on holidays and steals the room. I love that guy. And so I've always remembered him showing up in this movie.
He's fantastic.
Do you remember how we talked about that scene in Diamonds? Bond's on his revenge tour and he snatches the bra off that lady and wraps it around her neck. Mm-hmm. And I remember that... There's a scene in here that you always remember the visual of, and that's the two of them getting yanked off the boat and getting keel hauled around the coral.
Yeah.
That visual is as iconic as most other moments in Bond.
Completely
It's
agree.
another one of those things where it's got to get a point for that amazing scene.
Yeah. Frankly, I'm at a 9. That might be high.
It's high. I don't know that it's too high. I have it at an 8.
Okay.
Dropping Blofeld, who's not Blofeld, into the smokestack scene. There's just so many iconic moments in this. This is the only time that I can remember where Bond goes to put flowers on Tracy's grave.
Yes.
Right?
It's
the
the only
first
time it
time
happens.
it's been acknowledged that he's a widower. There's so many little things in
And
this.
the only ones that know are the ones that know. And if you don't understand where it's coming from, you're very confused.
Yeah.
Luckily, we understand, so
Inside-
it was a
it's for
nice
insiders.
throwback
Yeah.
to
A lot of beautiful things in
Widow
this.
Jane.
Yep. A lot of beautiful things in this.
I could go 8. I wouldn't be
I
mad
had it
about
at an
8.
8.
I wouldn't
That's
be
what I
mad
had
at
it
8.
8's high. In fact, I'm trying to think if we've given anything an 8 in X Factor again. It was the other movie we talk about in the same way, right? So we gave high X Factor points to Dr. No because Dr. No was first. We gave high X Factor points to Goldfinger because Goldfinger is the most homaged movie in the Bond catalog.
Yes.
The only movie that doesn't have that scored an 8, is the other movie we talk about in exactly the same way. If it's on, we want to watch it. You only live twice.
Yeah.
So 8 is high.
I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with it.
go 8.
I think it deserves it. Want to do a quick pause?
You can do some math,
Yeah, let's do
which
some
you
math.
will eventually see right here.
Let's throw some math all over Dave's face. We'll be right back. And just like that, we're back. We've done math. We have plot at a 6,
Yes.
Bond at 12,
Yes.
villain at 6,
Yep.
henchman at 5,
All of them.
Bond girls at 8,
Yeah.
action at 9,
Yeah.
the big 4 at 8, credits montage at 14,
Yep.
Bondness at 14,
Yes.
production quality at 8,
Yep.
X Factor at 8.
Yep.
That gives us a grand total of 98 points.
high.
It is high. This is such a fun movie. It's very well done. It's one of Roger Moore's, I think it's Roger Moore's best.
It's our highest scoring Roger Moore film.
yeah.
And not, I mean, think about this. Think about this for a second. This scores higher than all the other Roger Moore Bond films. Without Felix, without the martini, without the car. If it had had those things, this thing would be competing with all of the other movies.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, for your eyes only, 98 points out of 150. That brings us to a 65.3%, accompanied by a fantastic bourbon.
What a find.
Fantastic
What a
bourbon.
find. And they have a whole, let me tell you, Fiddler has a whole lineup. So it would be worth going to their website and exploring what they've got. It's just a fabulous, this is a fabulous bourbon.
This is just fun. I'm really pleased that you found this.
Yeah,
and
ASW.
That it
ASW.
got here on time.
Yeah.
And that we got to pair it with, it wasn't one where the bourbon saved the movie. They paired very well together.
We've had good movies with bad bourbons. We've had good bourbons with bad movies.
And
it's
this time-
really nice to have a good and a good.
Yeah. There's not a
That's
lot more
that's
to
a
say to
win-win
this.
right there.
Fiddler, you guys are doing great stuff. We really enjoy this stuff.
Georgia.
I had to pour myself just a scotch more just because
It's very good.
I was empty for too
That's
long.
very good.
Yeah. Okay, what do we have next?
So sadly, no one thought it was time to replace Roger Moore. And so at 54, he's not done, which means he's coming back at 56 to do one of the best named films, which is probably not going to rate as high, Octopussy. But happily, we get Maude Adams back one more time.
We do. We're happy about that. So we think. We'll have to see on the rewatch. But we've seen Maude Adams in the past. We know that she's fantastic actress.
She's Bond royalty.
She is. I don't know how much more I can take of watching him on screen.
Here's the good news and the bad news. Octopussy, not his worst movie.
Oh, no. We are going to have a slight deviation, but that's okay.
Oh, it's an excellent deviation. It's going to be shocking and startling and excellent. We're going to have some strong recommendations. We're giving away the fact that this brand new thing we never tried before, we sampled in preparation.
We did. We had
Oh
to.
my gosh.
We're also giving away the fact that it is not up here. So don't send any guesses. Don't do all that trying to get arbitrary points that mean absolutely nothing. You do not have to exercise those muscles this time. We are going to be back with a fantastic choice.
Yeah.
To accompany.
Clowns.
Yeah. Ugh. Ugh. Damn it. In the meantime, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, send us your comments, send us your criticisms so that we can flex our rightness all over you. It's one of the things that brings us joy.
He loves that.
Not nearly as much joy as Fiddler has brought me
it
tonight.
is good.
But flexing my rightness does give me joy.
You like it.
I do love it.
He does.
Until then, I'm Nick.
I'm Dave.
L'chaim.
Tradition!